Salve! Let's take a look at prepositions with the accusative. So just a reminder, what's a preposition? It's a word that shows the relationship of a noun or pronoun to another word in the sentence. These particular prepositions that we are looking at today govern the accusative. They are with the accusative, meaning that they require the object of the prepositional phrase to be in the accusative case. So as we look at this, we have ad, ante, apud, in, inter, ob, per, post, propter, sub, trans, circum, contra, juxta. So these are all prepositions that take the accusative. Now, if you notice that we have two of these prepositions that are in the prepositions with ablative case. And so here's a little chart that's in your textbook as well that kind of helps us sort this out. How do we know if my preposition, in or sub, takes the accusative or the ablative? Well, if you look at these definitions for in, with accusative we have into or onto. With sub we have to the foot of or up to the foot of. These kind of give us the idea that there is motion involved. We are going towards something. Like if I'm going to the foot of the altar, or into the field, into the forest, into the house, or onto the stage. You have this idea that something is moving towards something else. With the ablative, however, it mostly shows location or motion away from something. So for in, that would be in or on. So the book is on the table. The book is not moving in that sentence. So it would be a prepositional phrase with ablative. Or the child hid under the table. The child isn't moving to the table or onto the table or to the foot of the table. The child is just sitting there under the table. That would be the ablative case. All right, and so as we are looking at these again, the most difficult part of these prepositions with accusative is not knowing which ones take the accusative, but actually what do these mean? And I think that the derivatives that we have really helps with remembering what on earth do these words mean. So for odd, we have the word adventure. If you're going on an adventure, you're going to somewhere new, going out into the unknown. So to or toward something. Ante, we have antecedent, to help, and antebellum, before the war, so that's kind of an easy preposition. Apud, I don't know, there's not really something that helps me with this other than that among starts with an A and apud starts with an A. It's kind of a one-offer. In, we have the word inspect. If you are inspecting something, you are looking into it to see how things are with whatever you are inspecting. Inter, we have the word interject. Interstellar means between the stars. If you interject your opinion or interrupt someone, you put your words in between someone else's words. So inter, between. For ob, again, I remember ob because it's the opposite of because of. If we take those initials, OB, ob, that's the only way I remember that. It's weird, but it kind of helps me. We get object from this. For per, which means through, persist. If you persist, you are going to make it through something that is difficult as you steadfastly walk through it, even though it's difficult. So persist, to go through something that's hard and keep on going. Post, we have PM, post meridium, which means afternoon, whenever the sun is halfway through the day. So post, after. Propter, again, this is kind of like apud, which there's not really I don't know, propter on account of. You just kind of have to remember that. Sub, similar to the other sub, at the foot of, but this is to the foot of, that motion towards something. Likewise, this in is motion. So here, sub, there's motion toward the foot of. Trans, I remember transatlantic. If you have a transatlantic flight, that means you are going to go across the Atlantic Ocean. So trans, or trans rather, across. Circum, around. It's where we get the word circumference, the distance around a circle. You can also circumvent, like people, Jewish people used to circumvent going through Samaria because they wanted to avoid the Samaritans. So circum, around. Contra, against. That's to contradict or be contrary to something, to be against it. And juxta, juxtapose, to have two things near each other for the sake of comparing or contrasting. One thing I didn't talk about in class is these are just a few, but these are common Latin expressions with prepositions that we have in English that you will hear. Those of you in logic class can look at these and probably understand several of them better than I do because I haven't done a logic class before. But we have a priori. Of course, this a would be what? Ob, right? A, ob, by, from. And this means where you have knowledge based alone on reason, or knowledge based on reason alone. Do you have a different definition? You should let me know. Educate me more on this. We have antebellum, before the war. Per annum, through the year. Pro and con, things that are you're for, things that you're against. Antecedent is just a derivative. It's the noun that comes before a pronoun in the sentence. Ante means before. Ad hoc means for this. Ante meridian means AM, before the sun meets the halfway point, the midday point in the sky, AM. Per diem, whenever I was a teacher and I would go on trips for professional development, my school would give me a per diem check, which means per day they are going to give me a certain amount of food, or excuse me, a certain amount of money to spend on food. So that would be my per diem check, how much money they will pay per day. Quid pro quo means this for that. Ad hominem, yes, to the man, cum laude. There's cum laude and then there's magna cum laude. This means cum, with, laude, praise. And then magna cum laude would be with great praise. These could be a distinguishment if you have a certain GPA, grade point average, at a school. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. What does this mean? I have to look it up. It's a fallacy, right? Because one event happened prior to another does not mean that the first event caused the second event. And then pro bono means for the good. So if someone does work for someone pro bono, it means they're not going to charge them. They're just doing it because it's a good thing to do. There are more common Latin expressions, but I'm not going to talk about them all. But hopefully this is a good reminder of what we talked about in class. Just some quick notes whenever we are writing these words. If I want to say, I am between the seats, I would write, how do I say between? It is inter, remember interject. And then how do I say the seats? It would be sala, sale, chop off the A, that is my root, or my stem rather. And then this is in the plural, and it needs to take what case? The accusative. So I'm not going to have sale, even though sale can mean seats. That would be the nominative case. So I have sale, salarum, salis, salas. As is what I want. Inter salas. Between the seats. So my preposition comes first, my object comes next. All right. Happy studying.